Red Chill.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Red Chill, your one stop shop for everything movies, TV, and everything in between. I'm your boy, Root,
And I'm your boy Shabz.
and this is our review for Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse.
And maybe a little bit of Into as well. We'll probably talk a little bit about it, I guess.
Yeah, I'm sure. We have a little
Just
bit
like
of a change of scenery. I am currently in Johannesburg in South Africa, but that will not stop our programming.
That's right.
So anyways, let's get into the review. Shops.
And I'm back in my studio.
Well,
Sorry.
upgraded also,
Yeah, exactly.
But let's get into
Nice.
it. So, Shops, tell me, what did you think of Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse?
It was so great. I think so far it's been actually well, I don't want to say so far, but it's maybe one of the best movies and probably one of the best sequels I've seen to a superhero movie. I would put it up there. I mean, it's hard to judge it because it's animated, so it's hard to put it up with the live action movies, but it was amazing. And I didn't know how they would be able to top up the first one, because the first one was so great. And I thought that they would just do a similar thing where it would feel similar but with like a different plot. About like the first one was introducing the multiverse, so I thought this would be more about time or something, because we saw Spider-Man Beyond at the end of the first one. So I was like, oh, maybe they'll do a time thing and it'll be a similar plot. But they took it to like another level of like, I was like, oh my god, like they're really going at it, So yeah, I loved every second of it.
Nice. Yeah, I personally also think I had such a good time with this movie. I think personally, I still have to put the first one above this one, just
Really?
because that one was such an experience. Like, I remember that movie so well. I've rewatched it so many times since, and it's one of those movies that like I'll always have in my collection because it's just so good in terms of pacing and everything that goes into it. Where I think let's go like warn everybody this is gonna be full on spoilers.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that didn't work for me as well, where I think I will have a different opinion of this movie once we see the second part, was that it didn't tell a complete story. I think
Right.
I personally like it better when it's more like Infinity War, where a full story is being told and
Right.
there's still a cliffhanger that leaves us wanting more, rather than a movie that just stops the way
Like
that
the
this
Dark Knight.
one. Yeah. Or but funny enough, I just watched Fast X, and that also ends on a giant cliffhanger like this. And honestly, I don't know. Besides like Matrix 2, it's rare that we get a movie which like just doesn't tie up what's going on. Like, we got a lot of themes answered. I think the biggest thing in this movie was the mother and the themes of that she was trying to teach Miles and him realizing
Right.
it. But before we get into all that, overall, I still think it's an amazing time. I think it's so much amazing shit happens in it. It's absolutely gorgeous. The art, the I think the story is also great. It took me by surprise. It had moments where I was not actually anticipating them
Right.
to go that way. I think the giant twist with Miles being an anomaly is amazing.
Yeah.
I think the only thing I could really ask for more, besides having a full story, would be just seeing more universes, going into more of the different universes. Where I love that we spend a lot of time in India, in the Indian Spider-Verse.
I love that. I wasn't expecting that.
But it does the thing where like we get a little bit of Lego and a little bit of live action, and but it's all very quick and we don't spend a lot of time in it, and it's like just in passing by, which I think is a problem with most multiverse movies these days, where they seem too scared to really commit to just showing us loads and loads of multiverses, kind of like Everything Everywhere All at Once did.
Right.
But otherwise, I loved it. I had an amazing time with this movie, and I am so ready to see the conclusion.
Oh yeah. But do you, on that note, I'm pretty sure like the reason it was like that, and I think that would be the same for Matrix, is that it was intended to be just one movie, but it was just way too long. So they're like, we have to break it into two parts.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see. I mean, I think what was weird about it, I guess, about the ending was it was building up in a way that like we are moving to the third act. So
Right.
much so that like I was sitting there and I had to look at my watch and be like, wait, there's only
It's
like
been
20
2.5
minutes left.
hours.
Like, how are they going to wrap this up in like 15, 20 minutes? You know, there's so
Right,
much going on and they're
right.
adding more and more to it where like I
Hmm.
was starting to realize that like, oh, I don't think they are going to wrap this up right now. Where like I'm very curious to see what the next movie is going to do then, because like I said, the spot is going to the place where Miles's dad is going to die, where
Oh.
I assume that like the third act is going to be the beginning of the next movie, and then maybe something else goes on. I don't know. Like, what is
I think they're just
beyond the
gonna wrap all
Spider-Verse?
it up. I think they're gonna wrap it all up.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah. No, like they'll just wrap up the whole trilogy, and then maybe someone else will do like spin-offs or whatever, because it's such a big franchise. But I think in terms of the story, just like I think Lord and Miller seem like the people who would want to make a fully a beginning, middle, and end type of story where
That's what gives me hope about it, that like they
Right.
did the second movie knowing where it's going. That's usually a
Right.
good sign.
Yeah, right. And they kind of, the thing about that was that the first movie when it ended, I thought that was just like like a small idea of like, oh hey, we're gonna introduce Miguel. Like I just knew him from like Shattered Dimensions, the game.
Yeah,
But
I love
other than that,
game.
I was just like, yeah, it was so amazing. That's all I know about Spider-Man, like other than the cartoons, you know. Sorry. But yeah, so I didn't really think, that's why I was just like, oh, they're probably just gonna introduce time, and it's just gonna be just another standard Spider-Man story. Where I didn't think they would introduce like all these like moral dilemmas about being Spider-Man and the anomalies and like the what I love is like thematically, it's like the first movie is the origin story for Miles.
Yeah.
And then the next one, it's almost like an inverse, maybe, or like a counterpart to an origin story, where it's like you can't be Spider-Man, so now you have to. It's not like you have to save someone and blah blah blah, like those kind of moral dilemmas. It was more like a meta quality to it, where it's like, where Miles has to now decide whether, like, he has to give up his Spider-Man thing just so that all the other Spider-Verses exist. And I was just like, wow, that's like the core of the story, which is what I wasn't expecting it at all. I just thought it's just going to be a straight up plot, and that's what I was like. In the first one, it was like origin. So that was sort of the novelty of like introducing all these things. So I was a little weary of this one, but they took all those new introductions and used it as a driving force for the story that they had in mind, which is why this worked like so much more. I mean, I love the first one,
Well,
but the first one was just like a straight up comedy.
what a great setup with the spider, where I remember like rewatching the first one where the spider is glitching out, and there is something weird about it that they never address.
They never addressed it. I was like, what? I was like, okay, I guess it doesn't really matter that much. And they kept teasing the number 42.
Yeah, what a great reveal. I thought that was so good.
Right.
Yeah, like I think again, I hope they have like a really good plan for this, and they make this the best trilogy for a superhero movie so far. Because I think it has the potential. Like I think this movie is amazing. Like I really think if they stick the landing, this could be incredible.
I think they will. I think the writers have like proved it, and this movie proved it for me, where I trust them to, like I said, not just have another generic sequel with like another novelty. Yeah. Here it was like all the cool shit was like in service of the story and not the other way around. It didn't feel like, oh, we want to introduce all these cool things, so we have to design a story around it, aka Flash. But it was like all the stuff that they introduced, all the similar things of just introducing new Spider-Man. It could have gotten boring, where we're like, okay, we get it, right? Like the novelty wore off in the first one. It was exciting at that time because it was new. But here it's like all of that means something to the story.
Yeah.
So I have like full trust in them to fully.
Well, here I have a question, something that like I saw brought up and made me think a little bit as well, which is we just saw the last MCU Spider-Man movie with Tom
Right.
Holland, where we saw that Spider-Man will say, fuck the multiverse. I need to save everybody. I don't care what the multiverse needs me to do. I think there's a way to save everyone. Now, how come in this movie they managed to find this many Spider-Men who are like, no, fuck that. Your uncle or your father needs to die. You know, like there's no way to save it. There's no way around it. It has to happen. Where also, I think it made me think that, like, I think that's the setup for the next movie because he's not supposed to be Spider-Man. Like, why does his dad needs to die if he's not supposed to be Spider-Man? You know, like that makes it either he is supposed to be Spider-Man or his dad is not supposed to die.
Right.
Like, you know, it's not his origin.
Right. So I have two things to say to that. First one, I'll go second first, which is what you already said, is that since he's the original anomaly, all those other spider people, I guess, in the spider headquarters, Spider City, I think it was called. Like they're all supposed to be Spider-Man, and Miles Miguel said is the first anomaly. So we know for sure that no one before that has been an anomaly. So I think that's probably the reason for that. Now my other thing that I actually wanted to bring that up too. So is one of the personal themes of the story throughout the story is that Miles is always like being controlled by his parents, and he's like, it's like a coming of age story for like a teenager growing up wanting to be like his own person, spread his wings, man, you know how he says. And he just wants to do his own thing, and he's tired of people telling him what to do and what not to do, right? So he's sort of like in a rebellious stage. So I had two things to think about that, which the movie made me think about. So I give it huge props for that. One is he just rebelling against an authority figure like Miguel telling him you can't be Spider-Man now that he's fully embraced being Spider-Man, and actually like we saw that he enjoys all the swinging like with Gwen and all these things. So is it about saving everyone, or is it more of a personal thing where he's rebelling? And there's a small little moment, just let me finish this one thing, where there's a small moment of when he meets the MetaQuest Spider Girl, right? Who's wearing the VR goggles, and she quickly just there's this one line where she just says, "Oh, you know, I'm actually not here. I'm in my room, but it's obviously a lot more fun being Spider-Man." And Miles goes, "Oh, isn't it?" So that made me think, like, is he just doing all this because he just loves being Spider-Man, and without being Spider-Man, he's just like some kid who gets picked on in his elite school?
But I think the theme of this movie was where his mother told him, "Don't let anybody tell you you don't belong." That's
Right.
a moment at the end where Miguel is like,
Right.
"You don't belong. You're not one of us," and he's like, "Fuck that.
Mm.
I don't care what you tell me." That is the
Right.
big like realization
Exactly.
moment for him. But I did like the whole fact where, compared to the first movie, where he's like a bit, you know, like trying to figure out how to be Spider-Man, and he's a bit
Right.
clumsy and all that stuff. Where now that he's taller, I like there's a real progression where you can see that like it is that thing where which you're saying where you can tell he feels like, yeah, fuck, I can do this. It's easy.
Like, I'm
Like
Spider-Man, dude. Like,
but
you
then
know.
I love that scene where he's swinging with Gwen, and he's like copying everything she's doing, and he's like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what? I've been practicing. I'm good. I'm good."
Yeah.
You know, showing that like he is
Exactly.
better, but he still isn't ready. You know,
Right. And the fact that he's loving, because whenever you see any story of him as Miles, he's usually always hated the situations he's been in, and he's always like making a fool of himself. He's embarrassing himself. He's sort of a loner in his prep school. But now that he's Spider-Man, when he is by himself, he can be this cool special thing that no one else is. So does he enjoy that power and that sort of sense of like just feeling special for like a teenager who's always felt like an outsider, to now be like more Spider-Man saying like, "Oh no, you can't do that. Now that you've finally gotten used to and enjoying it, we're gonna take it away from you."
yeah.
So you know, it's almost like subconsciously that's how he thinks, but on the surface, is he saying like, "Oh no, I can save everyone," but like from the inside, there's a lot, like those are a lot of his motivating factors as well.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, how was the audio in your cinema? Because I've been starting to hear from other people like I've had a bit of trouble hearing it. I didn't have
Yeah.
subtitles, so especially like Spider Punk or whatever his name is.
Mm. Obi.
Uh,
That's my guy. I used to play. I used to play with him. I didn't know who he was, but I used to use that skin for Spider-Man all the time, and the guitar
it
power.
was
I was so
Daniel
happy to see
Kaluuya,
him.
but like he was
Yeah.
great. Like,
Yeah.
but like very hard to understand. And I think overall the
Yeah.
audio of this movie was a bit like I don't know, bit tough to hear at times. I can't
Yeah.
wait to see it at home. I want to pause it when all the Spider-Men show up and they tell us where they're from. But
Yeah. Yeah.
so did you have that issue as well?
Yes. 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 It was super. It felt super quiet, like especially the dialogue. And I
Like
hate having
muddled.
subtitles. Yeah. So I was like, wait, what? I was like, am I getting old? Like I can't hear you. I'm always way in the back, like in the
Yeah.
first in the top row. So I was like, what? And I went like I saw it like super late, like 2 weeks after it came out. So there was like barely like 15, 20 people in my thing. So it wasn't even like loud or anything. But yeah, whenever they were talking, like for most of the part, I was just like, what? What did you say?
Yeah, weird how that happened. Like, I wonder what caused that. Like,
Mm,
I hope it's something that they're willing to fix for the home release, because it doesn't
right.
seem like they're doing it for the cinemas. Which sometimes they
Oh
do
yeah.
when there's like an issue with a movie like this. But yeah, very weird.
Have you
Um,
read that there's apparently like two different versions that are playing in theaters with like a few things changed,
oh no,
like
I didn't
tiny
hear that.
minor things? Yeah, I read it like yesterday or something. Where it's just randomly, where it's like just like 5, 6 random things are just different,
How
like
weird.
like a line of dialogue or like what someone does instead of
My
saying something.
my best guess is something happened during the release where like us very often these days with these movies they literally finish them like just like a week or two
Yeah,
before, like they lock the picture for good.
yeah.
And maybe something happened there where like it was like last minute and something happened. I don't know.
The 80 yards, some lines.
Yeah, I don't know. Something definitely happened.
Mm.
What about what did you think of overall the art style? I thought the opening
Dude,
with
it was
Gwen,
amazing.
everything with Ghost Spider was so beautiful. Those art
It was
like
amazing. Yeah.
pastel colors in the back, they were basically one of the filmmakers was saying it's basically a mood band that inspired her world. So any emotion is like reflected in the colors,
Mm,
and so amazing with the blues when the father is not sure, to like
mm,
going to white when he's finally
right.
joining and understanding, and overall like even when it's like sad and all the colors are just like
Yeah.
dripping like as somebody's crying over it. It's amazing.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
They actually really used this was another thing I wanted to talk about was like the storytelling style. Like all these stories could have been told like a straight structure where but somehow in this and the first one the way they told the story and then all the animation accompanied that. It wasn't like cool animation just for being cool animation. Like you said, it's like it's reflecting the whole mood, and
Yeah.
all those things were so like deliberate, where
Yeah.
it added to the story and it added to the feel of the story rather than just me coming out and be like, yo, the animation was really cool, and it's a separate thing from how I felt about the story. It's like all these things merged so well together, and like their sort of choppy style of telling the story, like the structure, it made it feel like so much fresher, and like the pacing of it kept like it had an energy to it like all the way throughout.
Like the movie made me forget that it was CGI. Like I thought this
Right.
looks like, for example, I mean, even everything with Spider Punk or I mean, in general, there's so many scenes where you're just like, oh yeah, right. This is CGI. This is someone just drew over this. They didn't actually
Yeah.
paint this. Where
Right.
yeah, it's crazy. Insane achievement in terms of art.
Right, I agree. But I've heard like a lot of animators were like not happy with how long and they had to work like so many extra hours and stuff, and so many of them
Mm.
quit because the workload, because they were like it just never finishes. They were talking about that about the Flash as well, where
Yeah,
someone
I can
said like there's
imagine
a
this
Flash.
movie. Like every single, like even the first movie, their goal is that like you pause that movie at any time and it looks
Right,
like a painting.
right. every little glitch that happens, it's like, whoa, like
I think like what also made me forget the CGI. Like they do such cool things. Where like I think my favorite ones were, for example, the Leonardo da Vinci Goblin.
right.
So good with all the every time he throws something, like you see like the sketches that like Da
The
Vinci would write
sketching,
around
yeah.
it. Or if you
That was
notice Miguel,
so crazy.
the whole time with Miguel, you can see the lines that they use to get the
Yeah.
proportions right and shit. And it's very light, but like it's definitely there. It's fucking awesome.
Even I don't know if you noticed this, but about what's his name, Spider Punk.
Yeah.
Whenever they're like, even in any situation, I noticed this when like he's there, like the shot is from like you can see all their backs, and they're standing in a line, and you see his guitar, like you know, it would have like those squares things,
Yeah.
like 60s animation. It would keep moving, even if like there's nothing, like they're just standing there talking and nothing else is moving. His guitar, like the background of just the background of his guitar, it would keep moving like different colors, and I was like, oh shit, that's pretty
So
cool.
good. So good. Well, let's
That's
talk.
like
How about cameos? Yeah, like some crazy cameos. Like, what do you think of us going into the Venomverse and we get that lady?
Oh, I know. I was so happy to
Get a
see that, because
little-
that's when I first saw the first trailer for Into the Spider-Verse at the end of Venom.
Oh yeah, right.
Right.
True. No, it was like
So,
a real
yeah.
like Roger Rabbit type. I thought it was cool. I was like, if you do Venom, like give us that lady. Yeah, out of
Right,
all the people.
exactly.
And
Don't
we
give her
get,
any dialogue.
we get Daniel Glover. We get
Yeah,
Childish Gambino. Donald Glover, sorry, and in the outfit, like
Yeah.
as the Prowler, like that's basically, I guess, supposed to be the MCU version. Then we finally,
and they said that the inspiration for Miles's look was Donald Glover.
no, yeah, exactly. No, there's
Yeah.
it's like such a full circle where like he was on Community and he wore a Spider-Man costume,
Right.
and everybody's like, oh, he needs to be Miles Morales. Then he was supposed to be Miles Morales in like live action, and he became the voice actor for the cartoon. Then he was too old when the MCU started, so they made him the uncle. And now he can come full circle, and we get to see him finally in the Prowler. Like I don't know, like I hope we still get him in the MCU, but like even if not, I think as like Donald Glover cameos, I think they nailed it with him.
And the video game.
Yeah, we saw the Insomniac Spider-Man. He's like, you talking about
I
me?
still haven't played it. I still haven't played it, but he went.
I feel
"Hey,
like he
talk
was
about
there
me?"
like at least I think twice I saw him even. And, like in the first one we saw
Right.
his suit, so it's awesome that like he's canon now.
Yeah.
And then we got to
Yeah,
see Tobey
well-
Maguire and Andrew Garfield.
Oh, I know.
But I still hope
But-
we get to see them like properly and not just like old footage of them.
Right.
They're clearly building up to Tom Holland. Like they mentioned him,
Right.
which I thought was also awesome. Where Miguel is like, yeah, but that kid and the wizard and Earth,
Yeah,
whatever. But
that little nerd.
Yeah, now I'm gonna talk
Doctor
about
Strange.
that. So like, yeah. So I really hope they do something amazing for that, because if I remember correctly, they wanted him in the first one already.
You think it's a rights thing? That I wanted to ask you that.
No, I think
they don't have
they've
the rights for
already. Is if I remember correctly, I think they said that Tom Holland is Sony, like he's gonna eventually fight Venom. You know.
Oh.
Like they own basically Spider-Man, right? Like like Marvel is just getting to make the movies and then help distribute.
Okay. So maybe I guess they'll save that for like, had they introduced them in this, it would be like what's left for the third part.
Yeah.
So they have their plan in mind, I guess.
Yeah, I just hope it's something really dope. Well, so what was your favorite Spider-Man?
Oh, out of all of them?
Yeah. I think my favorite thing about it was like the unexpected voice cast, where it was the what's his name, the guy from The Boys, Dennis Quaid's son, was Spider-Man in Gwen's world, and then we had Andy Samberg as the emo Scarlet Spider.
That's dude. I wanted to mention that dude that was I think one of my favorite scenes where he's just like, "Man, I think about my past."
Do you know that story? That's a fucking crazy story from the comics. That's like a lot of people stopped reading Spider-Man because of that guy.
Really?
Because it was basically, they said it was the reason he looks like the comic book is because he is supposed to be the comic book Spider-Man, where you
Right.
find out from the Clone Saga or something that basically our Peter Parker was a clone the whole time. He's not the actual real
Okay.
Peter Parker.
Really?
So he changes his name to Ben Riley and becomes the Scarlet Spider. Yeah, people hated
That's so
it.
stupid.
So it's
That's
awesome
so
that
stupid.
they committed with that guy so hard. We saw a little
That
bit.
was so funny, dude.
I want to see Peter Parker from the '90s cartoon though.
Spider-Man and his amazing friends. I wanna
Not
see
that one. That one is also
Okay.
cool. I guess we got a little bit of it with the pointing. Wasn't
Right.
that from the Amazing Friends one?
Yeah, I think so.
But no, I'm talking about it's the Ultimate Spider-Man, I think it was.
Oh.
No, that's the X-Men theme.
No, that's
Spider-Man. Spider-Man. That fucking show is underrated, man. It's so good. I hope they bring more in from that series, because that is still where my love for Spider-Man really is cemented.
Mine started with the Amazing Friends.
It was also good. I saw that afterwards, and it was like,
I didn't grow up in Germany, okay? That we didn't get all the new cartoons. We got.
Well, like I said, I saw that one afterwards, and then it was like it looked so dated, and then Iceman and everybody was like, "What is going on?"
Iceman and the Fire Girl. I love that.
But yeah, they should show up too. I mean, yeah, like we get all the comic book ones where give us more of the cartoons. But I love Spider Car. Oh, Buggy.
Oh yeah, and I love the horse, the cowboy.
The cowboy, the T-Rex.
T-Rex Spider-Man was crazy.
The cat. Oh, also voice actors. I thought I did not recognize Jason Schwartzman.
Yeah,
I saw it afterwards, and I was like, "Oh shit!"
As Spot,
he was great. I love that guy.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah,
what did you think of Spot?
I thought overall actually pretty good. I like that, like he comes in comedic, but he's already being like, "Yo, you know what? I'm not your villain of the week. You know, I'm the one. I'm your villain."
I literally wrote that in my notes where I was like, I love Spot, and I just wrote one line where I was like, it started off comedic and he ended up being so fucking scary.
Yeah.
Where in like a weird, like in a you remember, you might, I don't know if you know this, but from the Powerpuff Girls, remember the character him?
No.
Okay. So that dude has always been the thing of my nightmares since I was a kid. Because there was something, he always had like this flamboyant voice, but it always felt like otherworldly, and he's like, he can control everything,
Okay.
And he was so scary, dude, for some reason. I don't know why. And that's the same feeling I got when I watched Spot, where it's like he started off so like comedic and like bum ba-dum, da-dum. Like that's the tune that was going on.
He literally kicks his own ass.
I know. He kicks himself in the
into himself. He kicks his own ass into himself.
Yeah. But then when he's like showing him like that scene of where it goes into like Miles' eyes and you see the future, and he's like, that's your future. And I was like, that freaked me out. Just like the animation style, the way his voice was so like.
Where you see the different fathers running, trying to save the girl.
Yeah.
Well, I'm also curious to see, like, I guess we didn't see him actually die in the Vision, did we? We just heard that like they're supposed to die, but like, I'm curious to see like how that Vision plays out in the end, because like my theory is still that the father is not gonna die in this one.
Right, because Gwen's father quit, so he's not gonna be captain.
Yeah.
Maybe I think Miguel's gonna make like a huge sacrifice for something to save all this. I think that's how that's gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely needs a bit of a redemption arc on this. I feel like he's almost like the villain of this movie more than the Spot.
Yeah, exactly. Spot was like almost like a setup for the next movie.
Yeah.
But the villain for this movie was Miguel, and that's what's so dope about it, where it's like, where he's actually a good guy and he's trying to do the right thing for all spider people. It's not even like, I
love the little moment they gave him where he's like, he found a version of himself where he didn't lose his wife and kid, and he replaced them and everything went to shit. Where it's like, yo, that's a dope backstory.
That was from, that's a story that's been done before, but it was also in Cloverfield Paradox.
It's
I don't know if you
also
remember
Rick and
that stupid
Morty.
thing.
Like
Right.
anytime anything goes wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Except in this, it like you felt the weight of the whole thing, and like you're like, oh my god, like that's
I do feel like I wish we would have gotten an origin story for Miguel because I think maybe it's still coming
the
because
third
they
one.
set
That's
up
what I'm gonna
things
say.
because they had that
Right.
moment with the teeth and they're like, what is
Right.
he, a vampire and stuff? Like
Yeah.
they
Right.
need
Right.
to
Right.
explain that
The
stuff.
claws.
Yeah. Like it was so much so I
And
had to look it up because I actually don't know Spider-Man 2099 that much. I also just know
yeah,
him from the
I
video
just know
game.
him. Yeah, exactly. And in that, he
So
was much different. He was just like a regular Spider-Man. He wasn't
yeah,
like this.
they didn't
He
go
wasn't like
into.
DC Spider-Man. That's-
But he actually has a really cool story where like
yeah.
he's one of the few Spider-Men that wasn't bitten by a spider. He took a serum.
Mm.
So he himself was different than everybody else. I think
Maybe
that's
it's going
probably
to be
why they
like a
chose
mix of him and Morbius.
well, are we gonna get Morbius and Craven
Oh,
the Hunter in the next movie?
oh my god.
Have you
But
seen
I think
have you seen the trailer for
for
Craven?
I haven't seen. I don't watch trailers, but I saw the picture of it.
Hey, you know
Andrew
what?
Johnson looks crazy, dude. What the
Hey,
hell?
I like that kid, and
What
that
a
movie
fucking
looks crazy.
progression from Kick-Ass to
R-rated Craven. I don't even know.
wow.
Looks
I was
crazy.
like, wow, man, he's crazy. But yeah, yeah.
But yeah, anything else that stood out in the movie?
Yeah, I had a question, not a question, but a thing that I didn't like was appropriating my culture. Because Captain Singh wouldn't be a captain in Mumbai. He would probably be in Delhi or Punjab. So I'm not happy that they got that wrong.
Hey, maybe he found a nice girl in Mumbai.
Yeah, that's cool actually. A Bombay girl.
I thought
had a
that
girlfriend.
I love that we spent so much time in India, and that
I
guy, it
love
was
that.
the taxi driver from Deadpool, and he was great.
Yeah, Karan Soni.
Yeah, and then they had to pull the callback to like, why would you call it chai tea? Because
Chai tea.
because of the
ATM.
ATM machine. You know,
I
like,
love
it's
that
great.
setup. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, it's not just a joke about like Indian culture or Indian language, but it's also a setup from before.
Yeah.
About like phrase redundancy, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was like, wow, man, like these guys know what they're doing.
How nice was it that like it was just a Spider-Man where everything's just working out. He's like, this is my girlfriend, everything's great, you know.
I got great hair, I'm naturally bulky. Just amazing genetics and coconut oil.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, man, I need that hair.
That's great.
I need me a Gayatri.
I wonder why they changed his design from the comic book because I think he does look different in the Indian.
I didn't even know he existed.
I knew it because Stan Lee created Spider-Man for India and Krish. We got two superheroes that Stan Lee created for us.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I was so happy to see it. And it happened like right after intermission. So when I was walking into the theater, I see like they're going into Mumbai, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, are those auto rickshaws? What the hell's going on?
And there's traffic, here's traffic, there's traffic. There's some more traffic.
What the hell? What are we doing?
So good. Yeah, really nice.
They were great.
I'm glad that was the universe we spent so much time in, if it was going to be one. I love the Lego universe.
And the story began from there.
Yeah, the real story started there for sure. I love the Lego universe where Spider-Man has to go boop, 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 boop. They don't have electricity.
I was really hoping they would do more with that. But
I think the best thing is Miguel is like, thank you, Spider-Man. You're one of our best. And how good it is that J. Jonah Jameson is just like, what do you call it? A Nexus being. It's always the same guy. It's
always J.K. Simmons.
Always. I love that.
I also wanted to quickly add was like, you think maybe Miguel might be an anomaly?
Maybe, yes. That's why I think it's interesting that he's one of the Spider-Men that wasn't bitten by a spider.
Right. So he could be one of the anomaly, and he knows what the repercussions of that is, and he doesn't want to give up being Spider-Man. So he's like forcing the next one to do it.
Maybe. There's definitely more going on with him. That's what I think this movie is a lot of setup. That's why I think you kind of have to almost see the next one to have a full understanding of this one. Right. I still wish, like I said at the beginning, I still wish there was like a tie-up to what's going on.
Or it should have been called Across the Spiderverse Part
1. Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of people who don't know that it's a 3-parter.
Right.
They're going to be like, what the f-?
Right. People next to me were like, "Oh my god, I can't wait for another 5 years for this." It's like, "Oh, that's true. This came out 5 years after."
It's March. Luckily, it's March.
Yeah. I wanted to tell them, but I was like, "No, it's okay." I'll
But
let them
yeah,
wait
I
5
wish
years.
they had done that thing that like what I think Harry Potter did, and like there's some other movies where it's like 5 months, you know, like you get it the same
Right.
year.
Right.
But,
or Matrix, it came out like the next year.
Yeah, I mean that's what we're getting. I mean, it's 10 months. It's not the worst.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but still, can't wait.
Can't wait for you.
But
it was amazing. The fact that we had so many like internal conflict, thematic stuff to discuss within this like Spider-Man story is what I loved about it.
I mean, it had all the hallmarks
so
of it was all the things that we love about Spider-Man. Everything with Gwen and the whole like her father putting a gun back.
And it wasn't just referencing. That's what I love.
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
It was all part of the story. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It was all integrated into the story where it's like you get to know all about Spider-Man and all the Spider-Verse, but like it told an amazing story with all those things integrated into it rather than just pointing it out and like referencing it, aka Flash.
But overall, I still think the first one, the pacing is like immaculate. Where like
it was amazing.
I rewatched it again. It's like that movie has no lulls. It always keeps you engaged. Where
there's not one
this movie
where you want to like stop it.
Yeah, this movie is a lot more self-indulgent, where like it takes its time in moments, and like I appreciate it for that. But I think it also is to its detriment at this time.
The first one I clearly remembered that I really wanted to pee, and I was waiting for a scene where it would be like, okay, the scene ends, now I can pause it. It wasn't. I had to watch the whole movie, and I was like, okay, it's just taking me on a ride, and the ride is done when the movie's done.
Exactly.
Like that energy throughout, even in the slow scenes, it kept like just going and going and going, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. I will agree with you on that for the first one.
But yeah, should we like anything else before we wrap it up?
I don't know. There was a lot I wrote down that I loved about it, but I think we mentioned everything. There was one thing I wanted to mention, but that's okay. It was about like we've seen 3 iterations of the same image of like Spider-Man next to someone who died, and a person in the back blaming Spider-Man for that.
Yeah.
We saw it with Tobey Maguire and Norman Osborn. Then we saw it with Miles and Uncle Aaron. And then now we saw it with Gwen and Peter Parker. And I was like, oh, okay. I wanted to hate that, but then it's all part of the story. So I was like, okay, that's cool.
I mean, we saw it in the last one with Miles and...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, this is the 3rd time we've seen it. So I'm like, it's not just referential, but it's part of the story.
It's part of Spider-Man. It's a canon event. So what do they call it?
The great conflict that arises from a simple misunderstanding.
That's why we love Spider-Man. Because it always hits. He never wins.
You're right.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's our thoughts on Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse. Amazing movie. I think we both really loved it. Highly recommend anybody who hasn't seen it yet to go watch it. And if you've seen it, watch it again.
Yes. I can't wait for it to come out online.
But yeah, I think in the meantime, I would say like and subscribe. Follow us. Let us know in the comments what you thought of the movie. Tell us your favorite Spider-Man. And we will see you next time for The Flash in review. In the meantime, check out all our other content on our podcast services on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes. We're on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, everywhere. Look for The Red Chill, at The Red Chill. Shabz, it was a pleasure.
Yes, sir.
I will see you next time. Until then.
Yes, sir.
Peace out, everybody.
Peace.
The Red Chill.
Spider-Man and his amazing friends, Iceman and Firestar.